Hey, what's up, guys? Sean here at Fusion Elite Trading, and I wanted to jump on and kind of walk through this Google trade. I had some questions about it, and I wanted to just give a little bit more color on the setup and some details on how I traded it. Now, this is a day three gap fade setup. This wasn't the cleanest look, but it was definitely an actionable look to get involved on the short side. You can see we had this big red candle here almost closed at lows, gapped up again, and then a third day gap. Historically, day three gappers usually fail. And the reason is just buyers get exhausted. People are chasing price, it's gapping higher, and buyers run out, and eventually sellers will overtake it, and we usually get the fail on the third day. So that's what I was looking at when we came into Google today. If you want to look at a really good, like picture perfect A plus setup for a day three gap fail, we can go back to SMCI early last year. You can see we just had super clean price action that was getting extended, and then we started getting these multiple gap days into a huge extension. You see we had on this last day here before the final gap, we had an RSI of 96, almost 97 coming into this. So we were very extended, and then we gap into that extension, and you can see we got a huge failure, right? So this is a really clean, picture perfect day three gap fade. And Google was a variation of that I was looking at this morning. So when I came into, got on my desk, I see Google's gapping up. It was already on my radar, just looking at this price action from last week. We're really struggling around 300. And then we get these gaps. The news flow has just been really strong and positive on it. And so we're getting these multiple gaps. And I came in this morning, saw a gap in higher, and I immediately was like, all right, I want to find a way to get short on this. So what I did was I put some orders out at pre-market highs and then layered some out every 50 cents or so, just in case, if a big buy order comes in and flushes through pre-market highs, I'll be able to grab some shares. Or if we came to the open and had a strong opening drive, I'd be able to get some shares on the way up. Normally when I'm shorting the front side like that, or positioning on a front side, I don't put out enough shares to get me to a max position, and I know where my max loss is based on a dollar amount. Okay, when you're on the front side, you don't know how far it's going to go against you. So I'm always a little bit more cautious with the front side. But what ended up happening was we had the 8:30 news come out, and we made an initial push higher that kind of failed and started to break down. And the VWAP. And so I took some on the news as we were coming in, was my initial position. And then I added once we started closing below VWAP. And then I started taking some off into the pre-market. And then we got a really big opening imbalance flush lower. All right, really heavy on the sell side, where I covered most of my position into this. All right, so the idea with getting into this in the pre-market, like this wasn't an ideal situation. It wasn't a perfect setup. It was just I was just kind of playing the extension with the kind of negative news flow out at 8:30. Ideally, what we would have seen would have been a push through pre-market highs that failed and got rejected really hard. That would have given me a lot of conviction to get bigger, because I'm seeing some weakness in the name. Or if we would have had a nice opening range break lower, but this just came out super weak. I would not have been shorting an opening range break. Like I wouldn't have been adding down here just because of how wide range this bar was and how far away we were from VWAP. So I was covering into this, but I knew I wanted to have a position in going into the open, and so that's why I was starting to take some here, and I added once I got some price confirmation below VWAP, and then we just kind of chopped around and then edged lower as we came into the open. Right before the open, we had the imbalance kind of start to show up, and we got a nice sell side, and then the open came, and we just the bids fell out. So really nice. To see that, to see the trade resolve so quickly into the open like that. And let me see, I got yeah, so here's the trade here at 8:30. The news came out, I took it when it kind of broke this little candle here at lows, and then once we closed below VWAP. I added some here, and then we just trickled around. I took some profit as we grinded lower, and I took some more right for the open. And then you can see I took a lot of this out as we were flushing lower, almost bottom ticked it here. And then I set the stop at the high day, ended up coming back, briefly touching over high day, and then you can see kind of chopped around before making a bigger move lower. And then to the end of the day, everything kind of bounced, was a little bit stronger than indices and everything. So it held in there well. It wasn't the same type of resolution as like SMCI where it was just a major failure, but it also wasn't as extended. Like the name, it's had a huge run, but it wasn't like a 10-day up in a row type of move, and then we started getting gaps into that. We broke out of a base here just few days ago, and then we got a few gaps out of it and got pretty vertical, got extended from the moving averages. Now, what can it do from here? I mean, we could see some consolidation. We could see a little bit more downside into the moving averages, let the 10 and 20 day catch up. I don't know if this is going to be a total failure over the coming weeks. The market's still fairly strong. We're coming into a more favorable time of the year. So this isn't something that I'm going to be trying to get super aggressive on shorting over the coming days and weeks, unless something else happens and sets up. But this was just a good cash flow trade for the day that I really liked. I thought the downside was had much more higher probabilities than more upside to it, given just how far we've come. We have multiple gap days, and so that's how I was approaching the trade and what I was looking for. Okay, and another thing I was looking at as well was, prices have been putting in new highs as we trend higher, but we started getting a divergence between RSI and these prices. You can see we're not putting in new highs, so we're kind of losing momentum here as we make new highs in the prices, and that was just another variable I could add in my favor to help support my thesis with the short into this gap higher this morning. So that's basically what I was looking for in these day 3 gap play on Google. They don't always show up, but when they do, especially when you get clean action or it's been a sustained run, these can set up really well for reversal play. So I'm always on the lookout for them. Usually what I'll do is once I see a stock do 1 or 2 gap days in a row, I'll put alerts out, and then that way when I come in the morning, if we get another gap up, it's kind of on my radar, and I'll look for some kind of short position to get into it. Okay, so that was Google from this morning, day 3 gap fade, and had some nice resolution there out of the open. All right, you got any questions or anything, hit me up in the comments below.